everybody, on tonight's episode, and I started too soon again, so we're going to try that one more time. On today's Wonder Woman in Weed Wednesday, I have the amazing, phenomenal Andrea Meharg, and if I said it wrong, I apologize. I should know your name by now. And I'm so excited because she is one of my favorite science nerds that I love to nerd out with, and who is the one that has coined the phrase "go forth and be awesome." So I'm going to let her take it from here. Thank you, Andrea, for joining me on tonight's episode of PotWater Presents, and away we go.
All right. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Meharg. I am a cannabis educator and coach. I live in rural Ontario and I run Reveal Cannabis. And I also do all the cannabis science education over at the Cannabis Coaching Institute. Super happy to be here with you, Amanda. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. I've been trying to get you for a while. So I'm like, yeah, got one of my big fish.
So fun.
So I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know you have a super busy schedule with everything you're involved in. So why don't you kind of explain a little bit of what you do in all your different places?
Yeah, I have my fingers in a lot of different pies in the cannabis space. I probably spend most or half of my time at the Cannabis Coaching Institute doing work there. And at CCI, we're focused on training a huge army of passionate women like Amanda and men too, who are eager to go out there and change the narrative on this plant. So we teach you how to get paid to write and talk about cannabis. And I get to spend a lot of my time over there diving into the nerdy cannabis science stuff, which I absolutely love. I also run my own private coaching and education business out of Reveal Cannabis. So I do private consultations and have a YouTube channel. And one of the projects I'm working on right now is creating a curriculum for doctors who are looking to prescribe cannabis in the States, which has been a very rewarding project to work on. And I also have a women's cannabis club in my little town here. I have, like I said, I got lots of things going on. YouTube channel, a podcast. Yeah, just busy around here some days.
And we will put all the links to all your different things in the comments or in the header. I don't know the terminology. I'm still getting there. So that you all can go find Andrea and all the amazing, awesome things that she's doing. So tell me a little bit more about your cannabis club that you have.
Yeah, I moved to a little tiny town that has about 1,400 people in it, just coming up on 6 years ago. And when I moved here, it was just as I was coming into like my own cannabis awakening, and decided that when I moved here, I wasn't going to be in the closet about it. I was going to move here and people were going to know that cannabis was my thing. And I wanted to meet people in the community. So I created a women's cannabis club. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, this might be fun, because I had this desire to teach people about what I was learning. So yeah, I started this women's cannabis club. The first time we did it, we just hung out on my porch and everyone smoked weed and we had a nice time. And over the years that it's been running, we've done workshops every month, or we get together and we go to the local alpaca farm and hang out with the alpacas, or we'll have a birthday party in the backyard, or we learn about terpenes, and soon we're going to go to a dispensary and do a tour there. So it's been a great way to like make an impact right in my own community, as I see women who wouldn't have necessarily tried the plant, maybe, and now they are using it and feeling better. And it's been a great way to meet friends too. Now I know where my pot smoking ladies are. So it's been really rewarding. And because of that club, as soon as I started it, people all over started saying to me like, hey, Andrea, can you come run the club here? Like in my town. And I would say, no, I cannot. No, I cannot do that. So I created a class that teaches other people how to run their own clubs or workshops in their own town. And so now there's like replica versions of the club up and running all over the world. So that's really cool too.
That's awesome. Now, do you have any sort of like affiliation, or are you like a nonprofit or anything like that? Or is it just a fun club that gets together?
For me personally, like I do a lot of things for our local food bank specifically. So twice a year, all the money raised goes directly to the food bank, and or we collect donations. Um, and yeah, that's how I give back in this community here. In my own personal, I guess not my personal, but in my own business, I also give back part of my earnings to a group here called Cannabis Amnesty, and they are a group who's working to have people pardoned, for lack of a better word, and to have their records erased for low-level cannabis crimes when, we're sitting here almost 5 years later in legalization, and this is still a thing in Canada. So yeah, giving back is part of what most people in the cannabis community are just about in general. I'm sure you've noticed cannabis people are very giving and generous, and the community is very important. So I wanted to make sure that kind of bled through into what I'm doing as well.
Awesome. So what got you started in cannabis?
I started smoking weed when I was a kid, like a teenager. And then I loved it. I had a great time. I really loved weed when I was a kid. Got totally away from it in my 20s and early 30s, and actually really started to feel very stigmatized things about people who use cannabis. Ironically enough, specifically cannabis using moms. Like I had some real thoughts about those ladies. And then when my kids were younger, I was doing what I think so many women my age do, which is try to do absolutely everything perfectly. I was a teacher at the time, so I had to be a perfect teacher. I had to be a perfect mom. I had to be a perfect wife. I had to be a perfect neighbor. I had to be a perfect daughter. I had to be a perfect homeowner. I had to do everything perfectly. I had all these balls juggling in the air, and everything came crashing down on me. Wound up in the hospital. My doctor took me off work. And I was in a very deep depression that I didn't know that people could get into. I knew people got depressed. That was a logical thing that I knew in my head. I had no idea what that meant in real life and in practice. And I really did try everything to get out of it, because I had 2 little boys at home who needed me, and I needed to go back to work, and I didn't feel like crying in my bed all day. So I tried all the things that you're supposed to try. Exactly 0 of them worked. And my mom gave me a bag of weed for Christmas that year. And it took me, I don't know, a month or 2 to gather the courage to try this evil weed that I had again re-stigmatized myself to. Had to watch a video on how to roll a joint, and literally in the first puff, the world opened up for me, and it was I remembered who I was inside, and that was life-changing for me, and set me off on this path where I wake up stupidly early in the morning to read cannabis textbooks and make YouTube videos about it. So that's how I got here.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm so glad you did, because your life-changing moments have changed my life and so many others around me and all over the country and all over the world. That's one thing that I've really enjoyed about my time at CCI and after, is getting to meet people from literally all over the world. And that's why I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I still pop in on the different calls, because half the time I don't know what day it is or where I'm supposed to be at. So I kind of popped in on calls. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here anymore, but I pop in anyway.
But these are my people.
Yeah, because I'm well, it was on my calendar for something. I maybe here, I don't know. But I've talked to people who are in New Zealand and Australia, and you're in Canada and Hawaii, and it's people I would have never met in the real world, in the wild. And so that to me speaks more than going to in-person classes, because you're getting so many different viewpoints and it's just, I don't know, it's just awe-inspiring. And so good job being a badass bitch and getting your shit into the world. And look at, these aren't just ripple effects, honey. You've got a tidal wave just floating all over the world. So bravo, mama.
Thank you so much. It is one of the most It's something that I think sometimes I take for granted is that I have this community of, again, mostly women, and no hate on guys. It just happens to be that most of our community is women, and we are particularly focused on giving women a space to enter the cannabis industry at CCI. But it is so cool to know that I have multiple opportunities to drop in somewhere, monthly or weekly, where I never have to explain myself. And you watch new students come into our calls, and they see all these people and their heads are like nodding up and down because they're like, oh my God, here I am with my people.
Yeah.
And I think we are so lucky to have this community that gets bigger and enriched every single time someone like you comes on and is like, hello, pinkies up, folks. Like, let's go.
I am getting a cardboard cutout made of me doing that too, because I'm going to, like I said, in the bowling alley, there was the Bud Light or Busch Light, I don't know, one of the NASCAR drivers holding out a beer, and I stood next to it in my Cannabear suit holding out a joint, and I said, next year, this is going to be me. So you watch out. I'm going to have cardboard pinkies up, Cannabear posters all over the world. That's my goal.
I love it.
So with your Reveal Cannabis, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, Reveal Cannabis is my own private coaching and education agency. So I do book out private one-to-one consultation services with people. Most of the people who come to me for help they kind of fall into two groups. I have a lot of seniors who have heard that cannabis might work for them, but they are reticent to try it because of a whole bunch of reasons. And having someone there who can hold their hand and give them some ideas about products that might work better, or dosages that might work better, that's very comforting for them. And those are some of the most rewarding clients because they're so resistant, pardon me, and then they try it and they're like, oh my gosh, what do you mean it like works this good? But I heard it was the worst thing for me, and I knew it was the devil's lettuce. So like it's a real mind shift. And then the other probably half of my clients are women who are exactly like me, in their middle years, with kids at home, stressed out, tired, sore, bitter, I don't know, like all the things that happen to us. And a lot of these women are very similar to me, tried cannabis in college, and they're like, no, it made me feel terrible, or it made me feel great, but I just got away from it. And they have also heard like, hey, cannabis might be more effective than a glass of wine or 6 on a Friday night. And so those are kind of my two client bases that come to me. And then out of Reveal Cannabis, that's where I do my YouTube channel, where I get to interview scientists and doctors and regular people and teach the world about cannabis. And it's also where I do some blogging, and it's also where I do the educational consulting services, so that I build classes for other companies who are looking to teach their organization about cannabis. And that's been really fulfilling.
That's amazing. I got to show you my shirt because it was kind of fitting. It's as tired as a mother.
Yes, that is why mothers need cannabis.
Exactly. So yeah, it's from one of my favorite local shops, Cray's Home here in PotWater, and she's got strong as a mother, tired as a mother. So it's kind of like, my warning label to the world. This is where I'm at today.
This is how I'm feeling.
Yep. So I'm like, we all need t-shirts that explain how we're feeling every day, and I think the world would work much better.
Yeah. Just read right here.
Yep. This is it. I used to wear duct tape badges, and I would put like, don't even think about it, or like a smiley face, or like approach at your own risk, so that people knew like, okay, nope. Or
that's
like
effective as well.
Yeah, I mean, it worked great. And like one guy was like, man, I wish my wife would do that. We'd have a lot less space. And I'm like, get her a roll of duct tape, dude.
Yeah, this is a very easy solution for you, sir.
Yeah, I always tease my husband too. I wish I could change colors too. Like, so you could just tell by looking at me like, okay, she's in yellow. That's a good mood. She's happy today. Or she's green. She's sick. She's gray. Ooh, don't even go close.
I love it. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. So how did you get how did you start, or how did you get involved with the Cannabis Coaching Institute?
When I was in that space where I knew cannabis worked for me, because it instantly brought me back to the person I was several years before. I tried multiple ways to get help to figure out how to use cannabis, because like I could smoke weed after my kids went to bed and giggle for the night and like laugh at caterpillars and like, I don't know, do the stupidest things ever, which felt great because I had been crying nonstop for months. But also I needed to be available for my children and, like I said, to go back to work. So tried my own doctor. She was not going to help me. Tried the cannabis doctor. He literally did nothing. The cannabis educator did almost nothing. And so then I just started looking. I was like, surely someone can teach me how to figure this out. And I came across CCI somehow. I don't remember how. And I was like, oh, they're teaching people to do what I need someone to teach me to do. So I thought, fuck it, I'll go learn myself and then I'll teach other people. And that's how I started. I was in the first class back in February 2018. And I loved the program. The program was life-changing for me. But also I wanted way more nerdy cannabis science. And so I started bothering Corinne almost immediately, saying like, hey, you should teach about this, or you should have a lesson on this, or have you heard of this study, or blah, blah, blah. And after a little while of that, she was like, can you just come and do this yourself? Like, stop bothering me and you teach all the science. And so, yeah, I've been there for a few years doing that. And it's been really fun because I get to meet all of the students and see all the really cool things that are happening out in the world and the ways that everybody who's been through the program has been able to make differences in their own communities. So it's like pretty much the greatest job.
Right. I know. I love it. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So thank you again for doing what you do and never shutting the fuck up and going forth and being awesome and teaching us all the same, because it's not even just what I've learned about cannabis, but what I've learned from you as to be a human being, to have the empathy and to value myself and to give myself the tools to be a better person in general. So you've enriched my life, not just in my cannabis knowledge, but in other ways too. So thank you for all of it.
Oh, it's so exciting to hear. Thank you for sharing.
So I got to ask, of everything that you've seen, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff through CCI, what's one of the most like out there things that you've seen come about, like when people do their programs, and not like in a just like, what's one of the things that, like, when you hear, like, if you had to pick one that was just like stood out from all the rest? I'm just curious because I like every time I come into the calls, there's different things, and I like it's that's why I keep coming in, because I want to know what everybody's doing.
Yeah, that is one of the coolest things, is that everyone gets the same curriculum. Everyone gets the same education. Y'all come to the same calls. And yet people go out and they're doing like vastly different things somehow. And that has a lot to do with what our students bring into it. So it seems from my vantage point that whatever a student brings a passion in for, they are going to find a way to infuse the outcome of their training with that passion. So like loads and loads of things. The ones that are most impactful for me, because I'm a teacher, I've been a teacher for 20 years, so education is really important for me. There's been students who have gone through our program and then gone on to teach like university level classes on cannabis. Now, she's a pharmacist by trade, but she didn't know much about cannabis before she came through our program. And now she's teaching university level students, and like she's done her own research. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that came from the classes at CCI alone, but that's really impressive to me. There's another woman who was a stay-at-home mom. She used to do lace making, and now she's come through the program. She's a couple of years out, and she's teaching completely full classes at not one college, but 5 local colleges around her, because her first college, the classes filled up and other colleges were like, hey, can you teach us too? So those ones I'm always like, oh, so cool, because it's school. But things like people working with dogs, with seniors, only with women who are only over 45 and menopausal, only autistic kids, only Black men in New York City. You know what I mean? It really is. The other day I had a call with somebody who's so interested. She's a hypnotist by trade, and she wants to incorporate cannabis and hypnotism. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be so cool. Because it feels like you can bring all of these things into cannabis and infuse them with cannabis, and then they come out just a little bit more magical. My most popular event that I ever do is an alpaca walk. We learn about cannabis, and then randomly we walk alpacas, and those two things have nothing to do with each other except for the alpaca farm is near my house, and people freaking love it, so
Wow.
yeah, it's been wild to see all the things that have come out of CCI.
That's amazing. Now I want to go find an alpaca farm. There's one not far from me, actually.
Yep. They probably want to partner with you.
So when I get off here, I'm going to be like,
hello.
I actually had, and you're the first one I'll share this with, the Council on Aging wants me to come in and talk to their workers on how CBD could help elderly patients, and educate the workers, and then maybe actually have like classes there for participants and the workers together. So that's actually really exciting that they approached me about it. It's, my fingers keep spreading, and it's yeah, I can't even like find words, which is rare for me.
Congratulations, because we know that seniors, like we talked about, they need more help, more information, more handholding than others. It's the same thing. Like earlier I talked about yoga or hypnosis or alpacas, but even if you just stay like within the human body, like you could do for aging or for kids or for people with diabetes or for menstrual pain or for Parkinson's, like we could have endless specialized educators out there and still not cover all the need that's out there.
Oh, absolutely. Because everybody's body's different, just like everybody's endocannabinoid system's different. And like my biggest thing is trying to make sure I'm saying the words correctly.
and then you'll hear people who say it the other way, and you'll be like, I don't know, like I thought I had this. Yeah. It's the worst.
It's like, well, but I kind of like the way they said it better. So maybe I'm gonna start saying it that way now. Well, and that's what I love about it is I've never felt judged in any of the calls, in any of the classes. And I ask some of the weirdest, goofiest questions because I feel like if I'm thinking it, then someone else out there is going to do. And I feel that's one thing I love about the community is I don't have to guard my questions. I don't have to feel like I'm going to be made fun of for asking or for admitting like, I don't know how to clean a bowl, So I made a video about it because I was blown away that all you need is rubbing alcohol and kosher salt, the chunky salt, and that's it. And I was like, wait, what? It cannot be this easy. And guess what? It was that easy. And I'd sat there with like the Q-tips and the scrapers and the thing. And I'm like, how do I get it inside? And yeah. So
that was my experience as well. When I first started, there was a billion things I didn't know. And actually, the more I have learned about cannabis, and as you know, I have a serious cannabis book problem. So I'm constantly reading. And the more I learn about cannabis, I realize that I know even less than I did the day before. Like there's all these places that I could learn more about. So I had the same experience. I would learn something in class or in the community and be like, people need to know, did you know how easy this was? So yeah, I'm right with you about like, it's a great place to be curious and not feel like that's going to be squashed because there's so many things to be curious about. And we all start at the exact same place. Very few people know what an endocannabinoid system is or how to pronounce it, so it's normal.
I always feel like we're in Alice in Wonder. It's curiouser and curiouser and curiouser. And
Yeah.
do I eat it? Do I drink it? Do I smoke it? Am I gonna feel big or I'm gonna feel small? It all
true.
comes together. I've been dying to get a Mad Hatter hat because that's why I started my tea parties too, is I'm obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. So I'm like, of course we have to have a tea party.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Sounds great.
So what is your favorite way to consume?
I'm always conflicted on this question. My favorite effects are edibles. It's always been my go-to. I like how they feel different in my body. I like how long they last. I like how generally they're predictable. Like once I'm like making a consistent edible, like right now I'm on a big granola kick. So I know like this much granola generally makes me feel the same way. I hate how long it takes to kick in. For me, sometimes it's 3 hours, which drives me bonkers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. So I hate that. Which means that I often like won't take it, like I'll think about my granola in the morning and then I'll be like, nah, it's going to take too long. I'll take it later, stupidly enough. And then it'll be later and I won't want to take it. So then I find myself smoking joints. So I smoke joints as well. I would prefer not to. I don't love hardly anything about the joint. Like I don't love the smell. I don't love how it makes my lungs feel, but I love the ritual and the time that I get and like sitting with it and having a meditative thought. But definitely if I'm better about my edibles, I smoke less because I don't need it. So yeah.
Do you dry herb vape at all?
I have 3 or 4 dry herb vapes and I like them all, but I have an extremely high tolerance for THC.
Okay.
And so it takes too long for me
Right.
to consume enough with a dry herb vaporizer for it to be like an effective method. Even smoking sometimes annoys me because I don't have to. That's the silliest thing I've ever said. I often choose to consume a whole joint and even that takes time. So that's why really edibles, like I know edibles are better for me. I can put oil down the back of my throat or eat a delicious bowl of granola, but I like fight with myself every morning about it. So that's the truth, that's where we're at.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, that's why I appreciate, you're open and honest and the world would be a much easier place if everybody were that way. So thank you for your candor. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
So, okay. So we talked, what is your favorite chemo bar?
I don't have one. And this has a lot to do with the fact that my tolerance is really high. So I can smoke almost anything and not like just go about my day. I cannot remember. No, the last time I was high, and I mean like commune with the universe high, commune with the universe high. Was a very long time ago, like maybe well over a year. And it never comes from smoking. It almost always comes from edibles. And so I just kind of like smoke what's available. I don't have a very favorite one. I love chemo bars that smell like pine and lemon. Like those are my favorite terpene smells. But I'll just smoke whatever I have. I'm a terrible cannabis connoisseur. Do you know, like some people are like, they like smell it and they look at it and they love it and they sing it little lullabies. I'm just like, oh, there's weed and I smoke it and then I'm happy. So
that's okay too. There's something for everyone. It's kind of like sommeliers for wine. Isn't that the thing? Yeah. And then there's just like the people who are like, nope, chug.
Yeah, exactly. I like wine. Give it to me. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on today and talking about everything you do. Is there anything we missed? Is there anything you do that you wanted to get out in the universe or tell people how to find you or all the things?
Sure. You can find everything I do from revealcannabis.com. It links up to all my places there. One project I do have that's kind of out in the ether, exactly like you said, like out in the universe, floating around, waiting to be finished up right now, is a class, an online class that I just filmed with a colleague of mine about teaching your kids or teaching parents how to talk to their kids about cannabis. Um, just like the seniors need so much help understanding cannabis and what it might do. Holy crap, teenagers growing up today, like it's not even the same as if you were growing up 5 years ago because of all the different types of cannabis and ways to take it. And it's just like the market's bonkers. So I think it's really important that teens particularly have a really good understanding of the potential benefits and risks. So this class talks a lot about how to talk to your teens, but also how to talk to your little kids about cannabis, with a whole bunch of nuance involved in there. But again, I'm on this mission to destigmatize the plant and the conversation around it. I'm super, super grateful to live in Canada and that my kids, as they grow up, if they run into problems with stress or pain or inflammation, that they have cannabis as an option and that it has been something in their life that they've just had like a open, honest conversation with me about. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And that one is also on my website. If you go to, it's the worst name. Listen to this. It's revealcannabis.com/kids. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just make it like, /kids because it's for, the course is about kids. My friend was like, Andrea, you can't do that. You have /kids in your name. And I was like, oh, that's very true. But I already made it. So here we go. So head to revealcannabis.com/kids. And that's where you can find out more about that class.
Well, I can't wait to see it and go through it with my daughter, because that's the thing is, with her growing up, she's 9 and she's homeschooled. So she's actually helping me grow my CBD plants right now through the Tammy Sweet Grow course, because I'm clueless about everything in the cannabis world. Like I don't know anything. I'm learning as I go. And so that's one thing that's really amazing too, is there's so many people who can teach you all the things. So that's why I love that everybody's coming on to at least show people like, hey, there's a whole world out there, people. And you just I'm trying to this is the jumping point of finding where you need to go. And so the one thing that I've been called the cannabis crossroads. So when you come to that crossroads and you don't know which way to go, I can be like, the hopefully not like the scarecrow who's the different ways, but more of like, this is really the way you want to go. Maybe a green brick road instead of a yellow brick road.
Yeah, you're right. We're so lucky in 2023 to have access to all this information, all these courses, all these books, all the stuff that you can read online. It makes it overwhelming at times too, that you're like, holy crap, there's so much. But that's why you have great people like Amanda and me and other people to help you curate this. And yeah, Tammy Sweet's the bomb diggity when it comes to growing. So yeah, that's so exciting. Yeah.
I'm thrilled. I've got 2 little babies right now and they're doing just great. I had 5, but I gave myself odds and I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to screw this up. So I only started 5 seeds. And so I'm down to 2, but that's okay. There's still 2 alive. So we're celebrating and I play music and my daughter talks to them. I talk to them. So
that's amazing.
One last question, because you are so nerdy and sciencey and I love it. What's your favorite book?
Oh my God, please don't ask me that. Like 857 of them. Okay, since you asked specifically in the nerd genre, Curious About Cannabis, the new edition, the 3rd edition of Curious About Cannabis, that guy, Jason Wilson, blows my mind. With the way he talks about cannabis science. He's an extremely good cannabis educator. Now that book is like approximately 755 million pages long. So I don't suggest people start with it because it's enormous. My favorite recommendation for people who are curious about cannabis for health, they've heard, it might help for something. and need it explained well, but not super nerd well, because that's not well, is Cannabis is Medicine by Dr. Bonnie Goldstein. She's a
Okay.
physician who works with cannabis patients daily, and she's able to talk about the plant and how it works and what we know and what we don't know really clearly. And that's like a huge recommendation as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing all your knowledge. I know you're a busy lady and you got other places to be. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. And if you're just tuning in, this was Andrea Meharg on tonight's episode of Wonder Women in Weed Wednesday. So I can't wait to get the cuffs so I can actually do that in
Yeah.
real life and make it
Yeah.
cooler. But I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your day and coming to talk with me and my audience. And like you say, never shut the fuck up and go forth and be awesome. So thank you for coming to watch this episode of PotWater Presents. Pinkies up.
Pinkies up. Thanks for having me, Amanda.